The CIA, or Central Intelligence Agency, is a foreign intelligence service of the US government tasked with gathering, processing, and analyzing national security information from around the world, such as examining satellite imagery to monitor potentially threatening activity, deciphering coded messages from other countries, and developing disguise tactics to blend in during undercover operations. In 1947, President Truman signed the National Security Act, which officially created a permanent Central Intelligence Agency for the country with about 200 officers in the service. It's been estimated that today the CIA has roughly 30 to 40,000 employees, with a budget upwards of almost $11 billion. My name's Anthony Padilla, and today I'm going to be sitting down with former CIA agents to learn the truth about this highly elusive and secretive line of work. Do these ex-CIA agents enjoy the responsibility of guarding highly sensitive top secret information, or do they find themselves tormented by the sheer amount of dark and disturbing knowledge they've been forced to internalize? Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Anthony.
Jason. Jana.
Hi, Anthony.
Thank you so much for coming on here and teaching me about the world of CIA agents.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
What do you consider yourself? A former CIA agent? Someone who possesses top secret knowledge?
Former intelligence officer.
Intelligence officer, even though CIA agent sounds a little bit cooler.
It does sound cooler. Unfortunately, we don't use those terms in the CIA.
That sounds sexier, but I just go by former CIA officer.
Former intelligence officer.
How long were you in the CIA and what was your role?
I was in the CIA for 10 years. My specific role in the CIA is called a CMO, or Collection Management Officer.
So it sounds like it has to do with taxes, but I'm guessing it doesn't.
No, thank God, not taxes.
I was there from 2003 to 2010. I was in the surveillance, protection, security type of arena. You know, you might be running surveillance on a person, you might be running counter surveillance, so you're making sure that nobody's watching the person who others are watching. Personal security type of work, so again, let's say there's a high value target, protecting them, protecting assets, making sure they're safe.
High value target being a human being.
Yes, being a person, correct.
I'm not used to hearing human beings talked about as a high value target.
So in the 27 years I was for a while as secretary, I became a disguise officer and eventually the chief of disguise. It was so many different things, but it allowed our case officers to go out in the world and do their work. It protected them.
What kinds of things would you do to help disguise people?
You might want to actually change everything. Change your clothes, change your cologne, change the cigarettes you smoke, change where you wore your wedding ring. But it was often useful to blend in wherever you were.
Do you remember what your first mission was that you ever went on?
I went to Europe and I met with an agent of ours who was from the Far East. I met him at a Hilton Hotel in London, and we'd given him a tiny camera, a camera that would fit inside of a Sharpie. It's a film camera.
A film camera in a Sharpie.
It was about this big. And inside that camera was a film cartridge. It's about that big. The man said, I don't think there's enough light in my office to use this. I kept turning on off the lights in the hotel room till it was almost pitch black and taking pictures. And then I went in the bathroom and set up a dark room and developed the film and came out and showed him the film we had just shot. And he said, oh, well, I have more light than that. If you had your camera and you're taking pictures at your desk of the agenda of the meeting and your boss walks out, it still worked as a pin. So you can make a note, stick it in your pocket, and go to lunch with it.
Oh, you're just sneaking pictures the whole time.
Yep.
All my postings, I can only mention that I've been to Iraq for a year, to Baghdad.
Okay, the rest are still classified.
So we fly in after 36 hours and we're arriving on what looks like the moon.
Very different than what you're used to in the US.
It was a moment of total fear. And that 2 years was a place that's one of the carjacking and kidnapping capitals of the world. And so it was a very dangerous tour, and we spent 2 years constantly looking over our shoulders for hostile surveillance or somebody holding an RPG or an AK-47.
That's how common it was.
They all had a weapon slung over their shoulders.
Did you have to keep it a secret when you were going out on these missions?
We could tell our family and friends, but the CIA is very clear on, like, you can only share this secret with people you know can keep the secret. So, like, if your mom's going to be so proud, she's going to call all her friends on the phone and tell them, then probably
basically,
don't tell her.
if your mom's the type of mom that puts a bumper sticker on her car that says "My child is an honor student," probably don't tell her.
That's right. And so there were a few members of my family that I couldn't tell.
We kept a little book inside of the front door because he also traveled for his job, his CIA job. And we would leave notes. Heading south, I'll bring you back some Parmesan.
And that was almost a little hint about where he was going.
It was food code.
I could share with my immediate family, but the problem is when you're single, it's not like you can go on a date and start hitting on a girl and be like, "Hey, baby, I work for the CIA." So,
It might work, but you can't do it.
Exactly. So it did, you're supposed to be very plain and boring.
So that guy that these people are going on dates with, where they come out and they're like, "Wow, that was a very plain man." It's likely, very small percentage at least, that you could be in the CIA.
Very small percentage, but yes.
So you're telling me there are actually just really, really, really plain people out there?
Unfortunately so. And I pretended to be one of them.
But it was all pretend, not plain at all.
Kind of. I don't know.
Before we continue learning about the world of former CIA agents,
They would shoot 3, 6, 9, 12 rockets at a time. The
Right.
earth shakes when it lands near you. And the sound of the explosion and the smell of burning things in the air, and then the sweat because it's 130 degrees outside.
I am so happy to announce that this video is very appropriately sponsored by Surfshark VPN. As you know, sponsors help us continue covering topics like this one and support the crew of very wonderful people. That's her, that's him, that's her, that's him, that's him, to make this series possible. Surfshark is an app and browser extension that basically lets you place your computer or phone anywhere in the world so you can access the internet as if you were actually in that country. This, of course, lets you access and unblock websites and content that you may not usually have access to see. So for example, the Bourne trilogy, full of totally 100% realistic CIA action, isn't available over here on Netflix in the US, but if you just go over to Surfshark and you switch your virtual location to the UK, bam, Netflix will treat your eyeballs to Matt Damon holding a lethal weapon for multiple hours, if you so please. It also encrypts your online data to add an extra layer of security when you're online to keep all your passwords, videos, and furry photos safe. Plus, Surfshark uses the same level of VPN encryption adopted by the US government, so needless to say, you'll be pretty protected. Surfshark is the only VPN to offer one account to use on an unlimited number of devices, which is pretty dope if you ask me. And because it's almost Black Friday, you can go ahead and use my code Anthony to get 84% off. That's a damn good deal. Plus, 4 extra months for free. That's an even better deal. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's pretty much no risk to try it out for yourself. You can go ahead and visit surfshark.com to learn more, or you can just simply click the link down in the description so you can go ahead and support them, support us, and surf the web safely from anywhere. Now back to the world of former CIA agents. How often do CIA agents and officers go undercover, and were you ever in serious danger or close to being exposed?
My whole career was undercover. We had always used masks, stunt double masks like Hollywood. Then we had a category of masks that were very effective. They all had beards because that's how you would hide the edge. But you could change the ethnicity of anybody with gloves, and you could turn men into women and women into men. We made an animated mask, which was so good. It's so good that I was asked to go to the White House and show it to the president. But I ended up wearing the face of a young woman who worked for me. This was President George H.W. Bush. And I briefed him. I said, now it's so much better. I want to show you what we've got. So he's looking around my chair. And I said, oh, well, I'm wearing it. But here, I'm going to take it off and show you. So I started to do the Tom Cruise peel. Pretty cool.
You blew everyone away at that moment. They had no idea how good your disguises had actually gotten at that point.
When we were in the Oval Office, there was a photographer just circling the room. I was holding it up for him to see, and they airbrushed the mask out of my hand in the picture they sent me. It looks like I'm lecturing the President of the United States.
Did they have to airbrush it out because that was evidence of how good the disguises had become?
It was classified for many, many years that we could do that.
What's your most memorable CIA story?
There's a very bad drug lord in a country that's not in the United States.
Classified.
So the government wants to get this drug lord off the streets. Well, he's always surrounded by bodyguards with a bunch of guns. So what happened is he was very routine, meaning he did the same thing every day. And he parked at this big intersection every day to go into one of his clubs. There were agency people at a big intersection going like this, and they staged a fake car crash as soon as he got out of his car. The drug lord and all of his guys ran to the street to see what was going on, and then a lot of other people jumped out from behind, put some hoods over their heads, made a vanish, and that drug lord can hurt people no more.
Okay then. So what got him in trouble was following routines, which is boring, and also not paying attention to his surroundings because he was being distracted by the possibility of a loss of a human life.
That's exactly it. Be careful of the distraction.
What is your most bizarre situation that you found yourself in the CIA?
One is the time that I thought I was getting carjacked. I was driving by myself to work, and so I was stopped at a stoplight, and a man was crossing in front of me, and he stopped because he saw I was not covered, and he started carrying out a very Harvey Weinstein thing in the middle of the road.
So seeing the face, a very taboo thing, which invites unwanted solicitation.
Men came from every direction to see what was causing this, right? Not what was he doing, but what was I doing to cause this? My car was being surrounded. And basically, I had to use my ambush training that the CIA had taught us. Like, you cannot get taken, so you can always use your car as a weapon. That day, I had to use my car to hit this guy to move so I wouldn't be surrounded and taken.
You just floored it?
I didn't have to floor it. I just had to hit him a couple times. So, like,
a couple times? You had to back up and go back and forward a couple times? Was it like a...
I hit him the first time. He fell, and he was shocked. He's like, I can't believe you did that to me.
Right, you're both in shock at that point.
Because I didn't even think about it. My training just kicked in, thank God. And he got right back up and started again.
So you didn't have to back up. He gave you room to hit him again?
Yeah, and I was like, I will hit you a second time. I'll run you over. I'm screaming in English and I'm screaming in Arabic. And finally, I hit him the second time. And then he saw how very, very serious I was. And he finally got out of the way. And I just blew through the stop sign.
How many people were surrounding your car by the time that you actually were able to escape?
Several hundred.
Several hundred? There was a full-on mob. Oh, and they were carrying RPGs at that point too.
AKs, AK-47s, machine guns. You know, it's good to laugh now. In the moment, boy, whew.
How dangerous would these missions get?
The Shia insurgents were shooting rockets into the green zone at us, and they got really good at honing in on their targets. Thankfully, we had an early warning system, so this siren would go off and it would go rear, 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 incoming, incoming, incoming. And that gave you like about up to 4 seconds to get into a bunker. They would shoot 3, 6, 9, 12 rockets at a time. So you're like in the bunker, you're like praying, and the stuff's landing all around you, and the earth shakes when it lands near you. And the sound of the explosion and the smell of burning things in the air, and then the sweat because it's 130 degrees outside, and you just think of all of these things. You're like, well, you can't tell that from the movies.
That's what's going through your mind at that moment? This is even worse than the movies make it seem.
It was like every afternoon. Like, why the afternoon? I don't know. They drank tea and then they went and shot rockets.
Yeah, that's when everyone's loosened up, ready to fire off some rockets. Did your personal beliefs or morals ever contradict with your missions in the CIA?
The CIA at large never asked me to do anything that I found problematic from a moral or ethical or religious viewpoint. Now, I worked with a couple of people who had a lack of morals and who were trying to do things that were not okay. And so there were some very difficult moments where my husband and I had to make a decision to not do something a boss had told him to do.
So maybe not on like a CIA systemic level, but more of a personal level where someone's telling you to do something that kind of fits their personal desires?
Yeah, I was gonna make him look good, and he was changing intelligence. He was rewriting what actually happened in a meeting, and my husband was there and he's like, that's not what happened.
Any position that can give someone power and the ability to acquire more power, there will be corruption. I feel like that's just a fact, no matter which area, which type of person, which field, which part of the world.
That's absolutely true.
Now that you're out of the CIA, do you still feel the need to be on guard and alert and watch over your shoulder at every given moment, or have you been able to separate yourself from that part of your life?
It's so natural now that you just do it. It doesn't take a lot of effort. My address is not anywhere. Like, you couldn't find my home if you tried, just because I don't own my home. It's in LLCs. It's wrapped in trusts. Right. My address is not any document, so I'm still making sure that my privacy is taken care of.
Is that why there are no windows behind you to be seen with your very clear location behind you out the window?
I have a good friend of mine who's an FBI agent, and he was going to come try and visit me once, and I was like, I don't give out my address to anybody. And he said, I can just find you. He went through everything, couldn't find my address, so finally he called me when he was close by in my town. I was like, all right, here's how you get to my house.
So you drive for 3 minutes, you see the big tree on the right. When you've counted the tree with the 3 apples, you know you've gone too far.
Precisely, you read the email.
The one thing that you can't ever turn off is reading other people. Just because when you deal with so many people who lie and fabricate and embellish, so many bad sources, the worst of the human condition, I don't trust people very easily. And I assume everybody's lying to me until I can prove otherwise.
Guilty until proven innocent. Were there any shocking takeaways or realizations that you've had since leaving the CIA?
How many spies are in the United States? Chinese spies are everywhere. They're in our government, they're in our universities. China is our biggest adversary. They're the ones that are flooding more spies in the United States than anybody else. And then, of course, there's Russia. Cuba is very good at what they do, especially the Cuban women. If you ever run into a Cuban woman, be careful. They will slit your throat in a heartbeat. I'm not kidding.
Whoa. You hear that, every Cuban woman watching who will not slit your throat? Maybe it will.
If they work for the Cuban government, if they're Cuban spies.
Are there any conspiracy theories circulating out there that are closer to the truth than most people might think?
The only thing that comes to mind, because a lot of the conspiracy theories, of course, totally wacko. So I can tell you what the deep state actually is, and again, it's not super sexy. It's not people appointed by the president. It's not people appointed by the government. It is career employees in various government agencies, pick your agency, whatever it is, who are trying to change things because they hate what's going on. Whatever political party you're affiliated with, they're trying to screw them. So it's not some huge conspiracy theory where there's guys meeting in a basement and a bunch of billionaires, because the billionaires don't hide it. They fund whatever they want. That's no secret.
Right.
But when everybody thinks there's this secret society in the government who again meets in the basement of the Oval Office.
Yeah, it's painted to be like the Illuminati or something.
They're in there, meaning they've been in that same position so long. They're not a political employee who's going to get fired easily. And so it allows them to, quote unquote, get away with murder.
In the age of nearly every website or app that we interact with on a daily basis, gaining access to our personal data and being able to use that however they wish, are there any things that you utilize in your daily life that help ensure your privacy and your data remain secure?
I have a flip phone. I have a other smartphone.
Retro.
Yeah. I've never sent a text message in my life, so don't text me.
That's a rare find, man. Someone that knows how to use a webcam but has never sent a... That's like a combination that you don't think exists.
I use a VPN, a virtual private network, whenever I'm on the internet so that it encrypts everything.
That's our sponsor. That's our sponsor for today's video.
Wonderful.
Wow, perfect segue.
Yes.
Are there any tips that you learned in the CIA that you utilize in your everyday life?
I just do, little things and this is not tech things, but making sure I'm not being followed home. If you want to know if you're being followed, go around the block. If that car's still behind you, you're being followed. So it's
it's that easy.
It's called a surveillance detection route.
In other words, a circle.
If you're a spy and let's say you're going to a meeting, you're not just going to get in your car from your apartment and go straight to McDonald's if that's where the meeting is. You're going to go to, Starbucks, then you're going to go to Walmart, then you're going to go to Home Depot, then you're going to go to the meeting. So if you see the same cars, same people everywhere, then you know to abort that and not go to the meeting.
You had to learn a lot about detecting lies while in the CIA. Do you have any tips for people watching for how to detect a lie or for how to lie better? Establish
what is their baseline. So you have to be able to have a very nonchalant and good conversation with them before you get to the tough questions. Then when you ask what you think might be problematic or might be an area in which they lie, then you see if their body language changes. It creates energy, and so that energy has to spill off their body in some way, shape, or form. So you will see them react. So if I am totally comfortable and then suddenly I go like this,
right,
that's an indicator.
It's a natural human response when you're lying, for the most part, for most people, for that stress, that energy to need to escape in some way or try to escape in some way.
Their posture will change. They'll keep scooting around on their seat. If a man's wearing a collar, I've dealt with so many sources like this. They started lying to me and they started tugging on their collar like it's choking them.
Yeah.
And in our line of work, we call that the hangman's noose.
They know when it's happening. Well, they don't know when it's happening. Their body knows when it's happening. So there you go. A few tips to detect when someone's lying to you or to know how to lie better. Andy wants to know how accurate the theory is that the CIA and FBI can spy on us through our webcams at any moment.
If they wanted to, yes, they could, but they don't. The agency is only dealing overseas. It's not spying on U.S. citizens. The FBI is the one, if you're doing something bad, is going to spy on you. But it is possible.
So you better cover up, just get a little piece of tape, put it over your webcam. It's not that hard.
Mine is right here. As soon as we're done, mine goes back over. A piece of duct tape, so.
Even the CIA agents use a piece of duct tape, okay?
See,
you can
this
too.
is my piece of tape, right here.
How do you feel about the way CIA agents and officers are depicted in movies and TV shows?
Most of the shows show that physical activity and the kicking and hitting people and running and all kinds of driving fast cars. Most of the time it's a psychological game that we play. I think it's hard to depict in a movie what a real life is like and a day in and day out of keeping your cover and how much time is spent behind a computer. That's the stuff you can't see.
So a lot of your time is spent just like the rest of us with the blue screen shining into your eyeballs and burning your retinas.
That's correct.
Why do you think the CIA is historically so male-dominated?
That's a good question, because I'll tell you that women make the best spies.
Why is that?
Because they blend in, nobody expects them. You know, if you're in a foreign country, everybody thinks every American male who gets off the plane works for the CIA. Women can get away with more, extract more, because people let their guard down and are more trusting towards them.
It's 2002. I start training. We had a mentor, one mentor for every 2 students during that tradecraft training. And my colleague named Adam, he and I were paired with this retired gentleman who was like a CIA superstar. And he couldn't look at me.
Just because you're a woman?
For 2 months, he would walk into our little student office and he would talk to Adam. And then Adam dropped out of training. So imagine how awkward it got.
Oh boy, so he had to interact with you at this point.
My mentor came in and he was all slumped over and he actually said, Michelle, I don't know quite what to say, but I just don't know what to do with you.
That sounds like a personal problem, a lot more than something that has to do with you.
He said, I'm just not used to women being involved in operations, and you tell me you want to go to the Middle East and do counterterrorism. Look at you. You're smiley, you're friendly, you're cute, like, you're never going to be able to do this job. Of
course, it has to do with your looks and how cute you are.
And instead, they put me in a different job. They're like, let your husband do that other job. 2002!
Yikes. Yikes. Do you think it's gotten much better at this point?
I think it's probably gotten better, but I feel like a lot of it's probably window dressing. There are a lot of entrenched attitudes about women, what they're capable of in hard places like the Middle East. And I feel like I've proved that's not the case. It's your intellect that matters. It's your experience that matters. It's your linguistic capabilities that matter. And that's what you want to be judged on. You don't want to be judged on your gender, but what you're bringing to the table.
All right, you got 5 seconds to shout out or promote anything you want directly into camera. Go.
This newest book, The Moscow Rules, can be found along with a bunch of other stuff on our website, themasterofdisguise.com.
If you want more inspiration, read my book, Breaking Cover.
All right, guys, he's legit. Go subscribe to Anthony's channel. It's worth it.
I am legit. Did you do a background check on me?
I will neither confirm nor deny that I ran a background check on you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I feel like I understand the world of being a former CIA agent just a little bit more.
It was really fun. That was so great. Thank you so much.
After spending the day with these former CIA agents, I've come to understand that as much as people glamorize their field of work, these operatives have truly sacrificed a part of themselves for their former job and for the perceived safety of their country. See you later. Bye, guys.
Press the like.
Did any of that have any effect on your emotional well-being?
What are these things called emotions you talk about again?
So emotions, never heard of them.
Now you're gonna like dig me in a hole here.
So your emotions are like a light switch.
Yeah, you're like a chameleon in a way. That's a simple way to put it.
That is a skill I wish I could have.
Well,